Hey everybody, Jody Marketplace Boutique. Well, today I have something that's really kind of hard to find. I never find them. Sometimes one or two at a flea market, and usually they're behind glass, and I've actually never touched one until now. So come along with me and I'll show you what you can find that you can sell here on eBay. Now, if you find a live auction, this is pretty easy to find. Okay, everybody, what are these? What are these? This is something I've never touched before until now. Ooh, look at this. Ooh, I'm getting some gray hairs, I see. Look at that. I haven't actually even combed my hair today, but I did put a hair bow in. So these are, I think they're called like Convex. I'll have to look them up. So these are pictures that are really old. And if you look at these, they're made with a domed glass and they have a metal backing. Super, super old. I would say this is over 120 years old. So that's really, really cool, everybody. And here I have another one. So I got these in a set of two. Altogether, I paid under $1, which I actually haven't seen these under $20 ever in my life. I got these at local auction in a box lot. So it was a wooden box and it was full of really old goodies in there. It looks like somebody cleared an estate or something. So, ooh, I seen that. And actually I got all kinds of goodies. And if you've seen my doorknob video, that's where these came from also. Some really good stuff. Come on along with me. Let's find out. How much are these worth? I don't know, but let's figure it out. Okay, so here we have some images of some convex glass, and it's also known as bubble glass. And it was very popular between the 1880s and the 1840s, mostly in portraits. It's definitely more rare to find the old stuff these days because they get broken, and people don't usually replace convex glass in their portraits. And honestly, I find a lot of these going up at auction and going up at garage sales and places that are practically free. I find these all the time. And a lot of times people just want to get rid of them. I think it's because people don't know who these people are because it's so far back in time that they're just not aware of whose portrait they're. So here I'm coming in and Terra Peak and I'm in the research tab here on eBay, 2 years out. Let's see what they have. Now here is an antique cabinet that sold for $1,800 on eBay. This is an antique oak corner china cabinet with concave and convex glass, Victorian style. Now at live auctions, I see these pretty much at everyone, and they really don't go for a lot. So sometimes I've seen these go for like $20 if it's the end of the auction and nobody wants to deal with big furniture anymore. I've seen these go extremely cheap, sometimes even less. Here's an 1890s label under glass. Whiskey flask, risque, women, photo under convex glass. So this is something else that you can keep your eye out for. And I wasn't even aware that these sold for this much. This is pretty interesting to me. I've actually never seen one of these. It must be a more rare thing to find out there in the wild. Okay, and here's a rare vintage Willard Batteries convex glass sign thermometer. And this is really cute. This is definitely vintage. It's probably from the 50s. This one sold for $662. Now, you definitely might be able to find these in old gas stations and places like that. If they have them there, they probably, if you ask them, they'll probably just sell it to you. I know that they have a lot of stuff in their offices usually, and I bet if you went into an old gas station and said, hey, can I buy this for $20? They would probably sell it to you. Now you could probably find something like this at an old barn sale too. And here's a Mercedes-Benz complete mirror, right blind spot, camera full. Okay, so this is a car parts. Sold for $650, and this is more of a modern thing that you can find. Now, car parts sell really well on eBay. We have definitely ourselves bought a lot of car parts on eBay or pieces that we need if something breaks. Okay, and here's a vintage Pepsi clock signed reverse painted convex glass bottle cap soda. And this is a clock. And I've also seen these kind of clocks in gas stations also. Oh, this is neat. They actually have the clock and then they took a picture of the clock lit up. That's actually really cool. I like that one. Here's what the back looks like. Oh, wow. That's neat. That is really cool. This is a very old wire. Now, if you list something like this, you might want to say something like, original plug, or, this might have to be rewired, just to, yeah, see here, there was a fix in there that can be kind of scary. So, you definitely want to take pictures of any fixes on stuff like this and just make mention that it's the old cord. But for $610, that's amazing. I have actually sold vintage clocks, even for kitchens, and they sell extremely fast. And here's some art pieces that sold for $560. Here's 3 vintage HE, Hervey, RMS, Nature, Study, dioramas, porthole frame convex glass. Now, I definitely would have sold these one by one and not all together, but that's how they decided to do it. So maybe somebody had them on the wall together now that I'm looking at it, and they decided to sell it all together. That probably was a nightmare to ship, I have to say. You would definitely want to double box this. And this piece of Victorian art sold for $500. I just was bidding on one of these. I probably should have kept bidding. This is a Victorian morning hair art wreath, large, round, 21-inch with convex glass. And instead of a portrait, took their relative's hair that had passed away, I'm sure, and they made a piece of art with it. That's really neat. These are really amazing. It's kind of creepy that this person is dead and their hair is in there. However, what an amazing piece of art, especially if you know who this hair belongs to. That would be really cool. Now this one sold for $400, and this is a Steuben for Steuben Vintage Convex Bowl, and it's made in Germany. And this is a piece of art glass. Art glass will definitely sell. Sometimes it usually takes a little bit longer, especially sometimes they do not have the markings on the bottom, or the sticker has wore off so it doesn't have a marking. This is a beautiful piece of art glass if you like glass. And this one sold for $399, and it's an antique French neo-Gothic wall plaque crucifix convex glass frame religious. Look at this. This is really neat. This is definitely more like a piece of religious art. And you can use the keywords like crucifix, cross, Jesus, art wall hanging. This is really neat. It probably came out of a church. It's definitely one of those more unique pieces. And I had a video that recently came up about crosses and crucifixes, if you want to look more into that, but those sell really well. Those antique crosses sell pretty good. Here's a Rooster and Ingram's Gallery Clock, 8-day convex wood dial, 1845 in book. This one sold for $375 plus shipping, and this is just a wood wall clock. So they probably looked up this in a manual somewhere or online, or they had the manual still, could be. And here's the back. I love the backings of antique clocks. They're very neat. And if you take pictures like this, I would definitely crop out the extra here. I would not, just cut your picture off here, but it's still sold. And here's an item that sold for $3.55 plus shipping. And here's an antique bubble glass frame painted print of a man and a woman in dome convex glass. So I actually have one of these, and it was handed down through the family. And if you do Ancestry, you can probably figure out who these people are. Ask your relatives if you have one of these, who might this be? And then just kind of look into it that way. You can go to your local historical society and pull pictures probably to compare the person to see who it is. Look at this old furniture. It's just so amazing. They took this picture and then they colored it in. Look at how cool that is. It looks like a drawing. It's very, very neat. Now here's another piece that sold for $3.50. Antique extra large Napoleon III wood black lacquered wall crucifix convex glass plaque. This is a really neat piece of art because not only do you still have the glass, you have the frame. Nice frames alone can be worth $200. And then you've also got the cross, and you've got that really old Victorian velveteen behind it. Now, you might also find these crosses just out there by themselves, too. And you're probably more able to find the crosses. And those crosses will sell for a lot. And here's the piece that sold for $325. Here's a rare 9-inch antique French gilt glaze, gilt bronze glass, beaded rose, picture frame, and a convex glass. Look at how pretty this is. Maybe this was a piece of upholstery from something that somebody wanted to keep precious to them, and they made a cute little picture frame because obviously this was something special to somebody. So this is really neat. I actually really like this. I love needlepoint. I love that gilded age. Oh, how cute is this? And this one sold for $315 plus shipping. Here's an antique fish chronograph, oval frame, convex glass, ocean green sea blue rare 1800s. Boy, that's a mouthful. So here's a piece of art in that frame with a convex glass. I find that interesting that this picture was behind it. Very neat. A very neat piece of Victorian art. Here's a piece that sold for $300 plus shipping. Antique framed oval portrait young football player in a convex glass, bubble glass. Now I would say this one is newer than the older ones that we've been seeing, just by the way the frame is. What a neat piece of history. If you could find and research at all before you sell these would be really great because you could definitely, being a football player, if you know of the area you bought in, go to the historical society. Look up the pictures of football players back in the day. Who knows, you might be able to find one of your relatives. And you could probably even put a face and a name together on this if you don't know. If you buy it from a garage sale, say, I've gotten these free before. Okay, and here's a mirror that sold for $298. Antique English round, gold beveled glass, bullseye convex mirror. I would have said gold gilt or gold, something like that because it's not actually gold. I actually love the house in the background. Look at that old wallpaper. That is so cool. Now, if you're my age and going into your 50s or you're going into your 60s, you might be cleaning out your parents' house at this age. I know sometimes it can be very overwhelming to go through estates and clean it all out. It's a lot of work. I've done it several times already. And it's definitely like so overwhelming if you have to do it by yourself. If you are a reseller, don't forget, hey, maybe I should set this aside and resell this. This one sold for $2.95 and over $140 shipping. I don't know why it was so much to ship, but it was. Here's a vintage antique round Art Deco blue convex bubble fisheye wall mirror. And it's very, very plain, but it's got that convex glass mirror to it. Keep your eye out for those mirrors. Now, mirrors sell really well on eBay, and don't be afraid of shipping them. You can also get different shipping services to ship these also. Okay, this one sold for $2.95, a vintage curved bubble glass. And this is of a girl toddler. Look at how cute this is. These I find so often at pretty much every auction, which is really, really sad. But unfortunately, some people don't care about family portraits, and others just don't know who this is. Look at how precious. I definitely love the ones of the little kids. So cute. Sold for $280. It's an antique 14 karat gold portrait brooch. So here's a piece of jewelry. And this one sold for quite a bit of money. I'm kind of kicking myself because I actually have a piece of art ready to sell. The glass, the convex glass actually broke out of it, unfortunately. I can't believe I did that, but you know, when you buy a lot of pieces of art sometimes at a live auction, I bought all the art, nobody wanted it. I paid $3 for all the art, like a huge amount of it. So, you know, a lot of times in transportation, these things break. I definitely have to be more careful. It's just really hard. If you're at an auction, there's so much to deal with, and you have to really, really hurry because you're on to the next auction. It goes by so fast, and you're just trying to gather them up quickly, you know? And if you're in that kind of situation, you probably want to bring a person with you if you can to try to gather them up quick as you're going to the next one. Because a lot of times people will take them as you're moving on to the next one. Or I would never like leave the item sitting out and then go to the next piece because I've had it where people actually will take them out of your pile. Be careful if you're in a live auction. Try to always bring somebody with you. And here's a watch that sold for $276. The Gruen is definitely a name brand, but also it's 14 karat gold. And it's a men's watch for the 1940s with convex glass. So keep your eye out for these watches. I actually never thought of this, but I'll definitely take a look at these more often. Now here's a lamp that sold for $250 plus shipping. And here's an antique slate glass table lamp, beige convex, curved. So this is a lamp that sold. Definitely an older piece. Here's a piece of art that sold for $250, an antique French Victorian morning hair, art convex glass, 1838. This is neat. So basically, it's a piece of wood. This probably wasn't very big. And this looks like a memorial with their last name on it. And this is the hair. That is really interesting. Now, you might even look at this and think it's a drawing. So keep your eye out pretty good for these. I also notice a lot of brooches are like this. I have one myself. And they could look like a little painting or something inside. It could be actual hair. So take a good look at that. You know, if you have a jewelry loop, you can tell what this really is. And here's a similar one that sold for $249 plus shipping. And this is an antique French Victorian morning hair art convex glass. Really neat. Yeah, I would have probably looked at this if I didn't know more about morning hair. I would have just thought, oh, this is a piece of art and there's some twigs or something in here. Just a piece of art. Really, really neat. It's amazing the things they used to do with hair back then. Can you imagine putting all these together and making this piece of art? Here's an antique Sacred Heart Jesus and Mary lithograph, and these are so pretty. I love these really old pieces of art that are just so colorful, and if they weren't kept in the sun, they are amazing to look at. I have a lot of pieces of art myself without the convex glass, and they are so colorful. Most of them, I assume, at some point had gotten faded just by having them on the wall. I'm surprised that they sold them together again, because I definitely would have sold these separately, especially for shipping reasons. So you might want to think about that if you have two pieces. Here's something that sold for $235. It's a Civil War era Sacred Heart. Thread stitch convex glass plaque. So this is just basically a piece of upholstery in there, and there's some stitching on it. And it really looks like somebody had upholstery and then they just made more stitching in it and put it in a frame. So it probably meant something to them. Here's the clock that sold for $200, and here's a French oval brass carriage clock. This is not a very big piece. Convex beveled, and this is from France. It's a clock, and this sold for quite a bit. Sorry if my voice is going out. I haven't been feeling so good. This one sold for $199 plus shipping, and this is a pretty relatively small piece of glass, and it says French 1800s Angel and Jesus. And this is a plaque, and this is probably more than likely a memorial piece. You know, a child probably had passed away, and they probably sculpted this to look like their child holding a cross with an angel. This is probably definitely a memorial piece. Here's a piece that sold for $198. I probably would have asked more for this. Here's an antique convex glass religious relic with medals and a rosary. Now, considering this is the frame and the convex glass, you've got a cross, you've got a rosary, and you have all these medals down here. Now, if I were to list something, I would think, okay, the frame is worth 200. The cross is worth, you know, whatever you think the cross is. You have a rosary. I would definitely add these prices together. I would also research every medal. You could have definitely made a lot of money on this piece. And these kind of pieces you find in old museums and church. If you've ever been to those old church museums, you find a lot of these pieces. This is definitely one of these items that was way underpriced. If you get something with like mixed media, there's a lot of mixed items in your piece of art. Make sure that you look up each piece. These sold for $179. Now, I see a lot of these kind of things out, especially if they're smaller. And here's Italian miniature oil paintings. 6 inches or smaller, I assume. Here's where they would hang it on the wall. And if you look on the back, look at how old this is with that wood backing. It's a definite giveaway of an older item, usually. This sold for $160, and this is another item that I see a lot around. And keep your eye out for these little tiny pieces of art. And sometimes you can find them at estate sales still hanging on the wall, or in auctions. Sometimes, you know, the auctioneer will go through and you can pick stuff off the walls. I've done that many times where they just don't have enough time to go through the whole house and pick everything. Just kind of be ready to take mention of pulling things off the walls. And these sold for $157, and this is 2 antique gold. Again, I would say gold gilded and not actually gold. Oblong picture frames. And it looks like some embroidery was put in here. Now, this might even be a piece that maybe they had a portrait in and somebody didn't know who they were, embroidery, or maybe at one point somebody put this in there. A lot of times you'll find these frames and people repurpose them. Don't always look past a piece of art that might be in there or whatever's in this frame. Make sure to take a look at the frame and the glass. You'll definitely notice the glass right away because it sticks out and kind of domes over. Hopefully you found some of these to be good ideas, what to keep your eye out for. I know I've learned something new. Okay, everybody, I hope you have an awesome day, and I'm going to try to get over my headache, hopefully. Thanks for coming along and have a great day. Bye.